Welcome, everybody, to the Revenue Cycle Truth Podcast, where we talk about everything revenue cycle, whether it's the latest trends, technologies, etc. So today I wanted to just take a little bit of time to dive into a hot button issue in healthcare, which is hospital price transparency. So we saw 2025 bring some tougher rules, and there's a potential key regulatory update coming May 26th next week. I wanted to break this down a little bit, what's changing, why hospitals may want to pay attention. So joining me on the call, I have Ken Krieger. Ken is an executive at Parathon. So thanks, Ken, for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Josh. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. So let's just start. So 2025 saw, some updated requirements. So particularly around the machine readable file. So the estimated allowed amounts had to be updated, and that include the average amounts historically received from the third-party payers. There was some drug information that had to be part of that, which was specific drug units and units of measurements. And then there was some information around modifiers, indicating things like variations of telehealth versus in-person services and some other things. So those were some of the biggies. There was other, some others regarding the shoppable services, but those were the big ones. And I'm curious, Ken, I know Ken has done a lot of work with our clients regarding hospital price transparency. And I'm wondering, Ken, I know you were recently partook in a project where we analyzed the different hospitals throughout the country in terms of compliance. And I was wondering kind of what are you seeing in terms of compliance just based on the 2025 requirements?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, Josh. I'm a big fan of the bell curve, and this falls exactly into that. If you ask me, I think about 20% of the hospitals, have it figured out, that they're good, they're compliant, they go through the validator and everything's fine. There's those 20% that either don't care or are never going to figure it out. And then there's that bunch in the middle from what we've seen. They're almost compliant, but not quite there for various reasons. So there's so many hospitals, so many entities across the country. Some of it's a little bit geographical, but for the most part, there's still a ton of hospitals that technically are not compliant. It's just a matter of, to what degree. Do they just have to finish things off, or are they just caught in this whirlwind of what are we going to do about it? That's what I've seen, recently.
Great. Yeah. Interesting. So now there are these, as part of the executive order issued on February 25th, there's some regulatory changes expected around May 26, 2025. Now, these directives are interesting, and we'll see how this plays out, but they want to ensure hospitals and insurers disclose actual prices, not estimates. There's updates on enforcement policies to ensure compliance with the requirements. All this might play out into be, something that influences regulation, but certainly we'll see more next week on how this plays out. But it is interesting. We are also seeing, and Ken, I'm interested in your perspective, and this might be part of this thing that goes down in May, but we're seeing a lot of penalties for noncompliance and a lot of fines, some pretty significant. And I know you looked at some of those numbers, but what's your perspective on some of the fines we have seen or are seeing, or some of the notices that went out? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, it's spiked a bit from what I've seen. I mean, the regulation and the threat, as it were, of fines has been around for at least several years. It's really it seems like now those fines and are actually going to be enforced. So the degree of fines, it ranges. We've seen them up towards $1 million, and some for some of the smaller hospitals in the $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 range, and everything in between. But the fact of the matter is, the hospitals that have been fined have been it has spiked, and I imagine within the next few weeks or the next month or two, it's going to go up significantly. There are warnings that go out, Josh, as hey, do this or we're going to fine you, and give us your corrective action plan, et cetera. All that stuff. People have had a long leash on getting that stuff done. Now I think it's, for lack of a better term, and pardon my French, it's going to hit the fan. I really think so. I think those fines are going to hit. They're going to be enforced, and those people, again, going back to whether they're close or somewhere in the middle, they're going to have some work to do. I think it's going to be an even bigger issue in the very near term.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, we'll see how it plays out. Especially, we'll see what happens if anything next week. And we know there's strong bipartisan support for this. So we'll kind of see, what happens politically as well. So, but thanks, Ken. Thanks for joining me, and more to come.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. It was nice talking to you about this.